Here with us now on set, Democratic Congresswoman from Arizona, Yassamin Ansari. Welcome back to the big show. You are just back from El Salvador. You visited the prison camp there. What did you see?
So I went with 3 of my colleagues after we were unfortunately rejected to go on an official delegation trip. So we personally decided to go because of the urgency of the issue. We went with the family's lawyer, which was exceptionally helpful, and got to speak with
Abrego Garcia's.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, Kilmar Abrego Garcia's lawyer, who also traveled with Senator Van Hollen to El Salvador just the week prior. And we met with the U.S. Embassy. We met with the ambassador, and through a classified briefing, we're really trying to get answers to better understand what steps the administration has taken to facilitate his return to follow the Supreme Court's order. And from what we learned, there has been no action taken to follow the Supreme Court's order as such, and also met with human rights groups on the ground who really were extremely helpful in providing more context about the nature of authoritarianism that Bukele is really leading in El Salvador and how the Trump administration is following suit.
So the line from the White House and from a lot of Republicans is they want to talk about Abrego Garcia. They want to talk about him because they feel like they can win on that issue. Whereas the due process argument that we just heard from Professor Adler is much harder for them because in those numbers, Americans overwhelmingly support due process, but the individual case is hard. Is there a concern for Democrats that by talking so much about Abrego Garcia's case that you lose on the public debate?
So look, even on the polling about his case in particular, I believe it's 2-to-1, the ratio of Americans that believe that Donald Trump should facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia. But throughout the entire trip, we made it clear that it is not just about him. The story is tragic. I am heartbroken for his family and what they're going through. I mean, this is somebody who's been in the United States. You know the story, but it's a Supreme Court order to return him. But it's not just about that. It's much bigger than that. There are hundreds of Venezuelans who were deported to these foreign prisons. Are not from El Salvador. There's the story of Andre Romero, who was a gay, hairdresser, who also was legally using the CBP-1 app to try to come through the United States. He had an appointment. He was sent to this foreign prison. So overall, the recklessness and inhumanity of it all, I think, is really resonating with Americans. And at the end of the day, I don't think, especially I know with independents, Donald Trump is bleeding on this issue.
Okay. We talked to Chairman Smith earlier in the show, and one of the things that Republicans are struggling with, the debt ceiling is coming, right? And this is one of the very few points of leverage that Democrats may potentially have if Republicans can't find a way to get a debt ceiling increase in there, which they may not be able to do. It comes to you, potentially, to will you help Republicans pass a debt ceiling increase? Would you negotiate on it? And if you would negotiate on it, are you willing to actually risk default if Republicans won't play ball?
It's a great question. I trust our Democratic caucus leadership on these negotiations if that time comes. I think overall, what I'm looking at very closely with how Republicans will act, especially those in the swing districts, is what are they going to do when it comes to those Medicaid cuts? We saw the letter that several of them wrote, which I'll admit was encouraging to see finally standing up to this administration a little bit. But if these Republicans actually vote to cut Medicaid, it is going to be devastating to people, but I also think that we're going to see people completely lose faith in this administration who really believe that they were going to be supported and helped by Donald Trump. So I'm curious to see what those colleagues do, if people will grow a spine or not, because thus far they've been lacking any sort of courage to stand up to just this absolute madness.
So maybe not on voting with Republicans for a debt ceiling lift?
I will trust my my leadership on that.
Well, as the president would say, we'll see what happens.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.